My whole thing right now is about being unstoppable, about really reaching inside and grabbing something that's in there that you might not know is there.
Alrighty, welcome, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Unleashed and Unstoppable show. My name is Todd Pierce, as you know, and today we've got a special guest. I've been pretty excited to chat to Jared because Jared, as you're about to find out, is a business person, but he's also someone who's really in touch with the spiritual side of business and what it means to have a new age business, which is what we're actually going to be talking about today. So look, Jared, mate, I'm very happy to have you on board today, and I'm just going to dive straight in and chuck the ball to you. Talk to me. So what has brought you to this point right now where you're doing what you do, you run workshops, you help people with their business, you do a lot of cool things. So I'll just chuck the ball straight to you.
Amazing. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. So thank you for the intro. And it's been an interesting journey for myself. I think I've got so many parts of my story, and I'll tell an overall version points because there's a lot of juice in there. And I think, from the time I was 15, my dad asked me, he said, "What do you want to be when you're older?" And I said to him, this is what I said to him. I said, "I don't know. All I know is I'm going to make a lot of money." That was very clear with him. And he's like, "Okay." And by the time I was 17, I was working in my previous career. I was repairing hail damage in cars, doing insurance work and dealership work. And I was 17 and making $70K a year.
Yeah. Wow.
Straight out of school, straight into it, and went deep into it. Right. And I had the gift, as I see it now, as a gift of having access to resources at a young age, right? And from what I've learned about self-development, transformation, growth work in general is that when we are given an opportunity to go deeper into something, it actually reveals a gift, right? So what unfolded is that by the time I was 18, I think I made about 120K by the time I was 18. I developed an identity and an ego around money and business because I was like this guy. I was at all the nightclubs, had all these girls around, all these people around me, and I was like buying shots at the bar, and I was that cool kid at the bar, right?
Yep.
And what that did is it basically having that resource at that young age and not having a developed character, it actually brought out all of my shadow, right? So all the subconscious patterning from my childhood, all the elements of myself that I hadn't looked at. And it started to amplify who I was, but in an unhealthy way, right? So I now have a belief system around money that's really empowering, and I use it to support humanity, like all that kind of stuff. But it was such a gift at that time. And then when I fast forward to 23, now I was making over 200K a year. I was traveling around the world doing this. I was in America and all different places around the world. And I had this experience that shattered me, like completely shattered me. I was in America. I'd been there for three and a half months. I was struggling to pay my rent back home. The previous year, I'd made all this money, but I'd blown it all on women, drugs, partying, all the things, right?
Yep.
So many can relate to this.
I resonate with you very much so.
And I'm in America and I'm trying to make some ends meet. I've got all this debt. I've got 90K tax debt from the previous 2 years. And I find myself in New York City, which apparently is one of the hardest cities in the world. If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
That's what they say.
Where I was there with a team of men. They were great friends, great brothers, but they, after 2 and 3 months, were like, "I'm done. I can't do this. This isn't working." And they weren't wrong. Every deal we went to, it wasn't working. I ended up staying. It was like an angel told me to stay or whatever. I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to stay. So I ended up being the last person there. And it brought me to this space of having nowhere to turn, no one around me, no support. And I had to figure this out alone. 90K debt. And this is when I was 23. And it pushed me into a space where I was sleeping in my car because I had no money to pay for a hotel or a room. The company we were aligned with gave us a car and tools, so that was sorted. So I was sleeping in this Dodge Ram van every night for 2 weeks and scrounging together, 2 and 5 cent pieces from the bottom of the car and trying to find money anywhere that I could. And I was spending 60 cents a night to get dinner on cheeseburgers, right? And that was one part. So that was one element of my story. So that was me at 23 years old. And that journey to sum that one up in a title to last little bow, I ended up coming home. I had 40K in the bank and no tax debt. I was like, that's how in 3 months I turned it around so dramatically that I cleared all, paid my car off, made up all the rent that I was owing back at home, and came home, and I was I was in a great place, and I took 2 months off, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to relax now. That was intense. Now I'm going to relax. 25, mom gets cancer, parents get divorced, and I'm broke again. Very similar story again. My journey was like this: heaps of money, no money; multiple six figures in the bank, no money. And it just kept happening throughout my entire life.
Yep.
The biggest one, however, was 28. 28, I ended up with a very, very pretty intense addiction to drugs. And I was in some very unhealthy relationships. And I ended up with PTSD, very severe PTSD, like to the point where I was having panic attacks 3 times a day for up to 3 hours a time.
Oh, wow.
Generally 45 minutes to an hour, but sometimes they go for up to 3 hours. Sometimes I'd go to bed at 9. I'd lay down on my bed at 9. I'd be in just this swirl of panic and overwhelm for 3 hours straight. And the kind of thoughts were running through my mind were, your head's going to explode, your heart's going to explode, my body would keel over, and I would really be suffering, right? Like living in fear, like constricted by fear. And in the meanwhile, I'm still, doing really well. At this point, I was making $500,000 a year, financially, and I was successful, and I had the car, and I had the house, and I had all the things. I had all the friends. I had my life looked so perfect
On the outside.
Yeah, and I was attending all the seminars. I was doing like Tony Robbins, and I was doing all of this mindset work, right? That was really, really supporting me. But then I end up with PTSD, right? And I'd invested hundreds of thousands in self-development, speaking courses, all these different things, right?
It makes you think, right? Like, how does that happen?
I'm like, how me?
Yeah.
So through that journey of healing from that, because within 12 to 18 months, I had no addiction, no PTSD, no anxiety, no depression. One of those the methodologies I used was breath work, alongside multiple different mindset tools and embodiment tools as well. And I basically went from having like 3-4 panic attacks a day to like being there. And then I had 12 months off. I took 12 months off. I had some money in the bank. I'm like, I'm taking a year off. I need to fucking relax. And I only invested in things that were for my own personal self.
Yep.
And for my embodiment, which is something we're really passionate about, which I'll speak about later, but I invested in things that helped me to become more embodied, because I realized that I had all this head knowledge, but it wasn't in my body. It wasn't actually translating into a reflection. It wasn't I knew the stuff, but it wasn't a reality in my life. Yes, I had money, but my embodiment, I wasn't a reflection of the things that I was speaking about.
Yep.
And that then sparked this next stage of this journey of now we facilitate retreats called embodiment. And since the deep parts of my journey, I've manifested my queen, and we've created some magic together. So
nice.
Yeah.
It's a cool story, man. And there's a couple of things there that I'm sure my unconscious mind will give me as we go through this chat. But I guess before we kind of move into some of the stuff that we talked about before the actual podcast started, like obviously like that journey there, I've had similar things occur throughout my journey as well. And it's quite funny when I say this all the time, right? And like myself and those that obviously watch me and listen to me know all this about me already. But like, when I do live events, I talk about the fact that a lot of people are trying to move forward into their future, right? Like they've got this, you could say there's a socially conditioned expectation of what life should be like, right? The money, the car, the house, the 2 kids, the whatever it might be. But they're moving forward with number one, they've got their baggage holding one arm back. And then they've got like people holding the other hand back. And like, I love the way you articulated your journey too, because there's also a hint there at some point. At what point would you agree, right? Because like when you go from not necessarily having money to getting money, that ego comes out, right? Yes. And just so we can set the bar straight from the start, my personal belief, and you can share yours as well, my personal belief is that it's not about getting rid of your ego completely, because there are some people that are like really anti-ego. And in my opinion, I think it's a balance, right? You need to balance the ego, because the ego makes you competitive and hungry. So at what point for you did you find that you were able to control that ego and get that humility kind of come into your body?
That's a great question. I love that so much. I love that humility is a bit of a theme for me for the last couple of years. It's been something that I've really spent some time really diving into, and for me also redefining what that actually means, So speaking specifically to ego, I actually completely agree. I don't want to get rid of my ego. I'm like, why? That to me, when I think about it, means that I would have guilt or shame around a part of who I am. Which if I'm doing that, I'm not playing at my full potential.
I agree. Yeah. Nice.
And I think that the only people that actually identify ego on people are the ones that have an exaggerated ego. It's
correct.
Right. And I mean, Deepak Chopra said the best. He's like, we see within somebody, the 80% we see in them is 10% of us.
Yep.
You know? And as I've sat with that and contemplated that for a while, I'm like, it's actually really true. And actually, as I've sat with that, I'm like, wow, we see that's exaggerating somebody else as a reflection of who we are. And if anything, that if we were to identify someone as having a big ego, it's actually us identifying that, holy shit, that person's reflecting back to me a part of me that I haven't dealt with yet.
That's right. And that's our perceptionist projection, right? We project out onto other people that thing that we resist most in ourselves.
Exactly. So yeah, I think we really agree on that piece. And I think for me, the integration, like one thing I've done that I would encourage anyone that's a teacher, a facilitator, a leader, a speaker, or creates videos or YouTube content. Something that I do is I watch my content back all the time. Like I'm constantly observing myself, and I identify what's actually present for me. And I do this in a constructive way. And even with my egos flaring out, I don't sit there and go, oh fuck, I shouldn't have said that thing. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I noticed that an element of my ego came out then is it was a part of me that didn't feel safe. Okay, cool. I felt I needed to impress somebody, right?
Needed to flaunt, I needed to floss it.
Exactly. And this is it. And it's like, because gone are the days, I mean, depending on where we're at, it's like gone are the days of making ourselves wrong for anything. We are literally a human being in this experience where we are receiving so much information, so much experience. There's so many things in our environment that don't make us feel safe, right? And our ego is there to keep us safe. And sometimes it does things that are out of order, that aren't what we should be doing. However, what it's actually doing is actually reminding us and letting us know that actually this particular part of me or this particular thing in my environment isn't in alignment. And if we have awareness, ego is your best friend.
I love what you said there too. And I just want to break it apart for people that are watching and listening. You said something really cool right there, which is that, it's important not to beat ourselves up when we do something that maybe isn't aligned with the picture that we have of ourselves in our head. Because sometimes we do make mistakes. And like I've been coaching for a decade now, and I've worked with a lot of people that beat themselves up over things that they've done. And they go, I shouldn't have done that, or this was wrong. And, it's kind of like, well, stop beating yourself up, just learn from it and grow from it. As you said, become aware. It's like, well, what's going on here?
Totally. And yeah, I mean, I just actually, as we're saying this, I just can remember, like, even from a very young age, one thing I've had is I've developed this, and this is not something that's not a unique gift or anything. It's just the decision that I made, really.
Yep.
But like every interaction I have, I play the observer afterwards.
Yep.
So sometimes during conversation, now I play the observer during the actual conversation itself. But like prior, I would play the observer. So I'd run back. So let's just say I catch up with a friend for lunch, right? Or it's a business interaction, or whatever it may be, or it's a conversation with my old the old boss that I used to have, or whatever the thing is, right? And I'd observe the conversation, and I would do this pre and post, right? I would do it pre and post. I would tune into it. I'd tune into the actual person and ask myself, so if I share this particular thing, what kind of response will I get, right? Because my idea in my mind is I want to create a win-win-win, right? That's the definition of a conscious business, something that's creating from a space of where every single person that's involved wins, right? Which no one disadvantaged from what they're creating, right?
Yep.
And what I've been playing in the realms of for a little while now is like, if I do this, is this going to serve that person? Or is it more effective if I do this, right? So I'm observing it before I get there. Then I lean into that whilst I'm in the actual experience and I've already observed it, trying to meet their needs as best as I can, also support myself to meet my needs as well. Then when I finish the interaction, then I'm sitting there going, okay, cool. Is there a way I could have achieved the result more effectively? Okay, cool. Now the deal's been done, or the person's happy, I'm stoked, right? Everyone's looked after. And is there a way that I can reflect on and make that just a little bit better for me and for them? Not just for me, not just for my pocket.
Yep.
For me, for them, for their family, and for their mental well-being, and for their emotional well-being, and for their journey of growth as well, right? So this is like a really interesting thing that I've observed that I've done for a little while now. And I think what comes back to is obviously growth mindset, which a lot of people have heard of before. And it's like having growth is a high value in your life. It helps you to position in particular things in a way so that you're progressively growing around you. So it isn't just you that experiences fulfillment, but every person you interact with starts to experience fulfillment.
Yes, love it. It's funny. Two things. I've just got my pen because I take notes as I hear things and think of things. Because I like, you know, when you get on a good conversation with someone that's like on a good wavelength, there's so many nice little nuggets, and I like to slow things down and really share that with people. So two things. Number one, what you're just talking about right then is have you read Brendan Burchard's book High Performance Habits?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's like that whole habit that he talks about, right, which is that power of intention. So like he talks about athletes when they go into like an event, he found athletes that absolutely dominate the most, they've got an intention, right? And it's not just an intention, I want to win. It's like, what does winning look like? How does the whole thing kind of plan out? Then when they finish the event, they go back and they dissect what worked, what didn't work. They constantly improve, which is kind of what you're saying right there. But you're saying it really, the win-win-win idea in business, right? And this is interesting. Do you know much about spiral dynamics?
I have some really close friends that are into it. I don't know a lot about spiral dynamics. Actually, sorry, spiral dynamics in terms of the Claire Graves model.
Correct. Yes.
Yes, I am very aware of it. And also, there's the other way it's taught as well, which is the 8 levels of consciousness, which I was taught originally.
Correct. Yes. So, and it's cool what you're talking about right there. For those that don't know, Claire Graves, 60s, 70s, kind of did a model for, I guess, assessing people, right? And he was really cool because he was like a technician, if you would. He didn't go in with a hypothesis. He just got people, tested them, chuck words at them and see how they reacted to it, right? And what was really cool is you notice that there are like 7, 8, 9 different levels of thinking. And this wasn't what people thought, it was how people think, which is why I really like the model. And the discussion, and when we start to step into that win-win-win scenario, that's a higher level of consciousness, because what's happening down here, and just for you to know, like you've got red thinking, which is very much me versus you. I have to win and you have to lose. You've got blue thinking, which is there's a right way and a wrong way to do things, very dogmatic, and people get trapped in that kind of guilt-based system there. You've got 5 thinking, which is called orange. Orange thinking is very much, I have to win, I have to be the best, I have to achieve, I have to have the biggest house, the nicest car, and everybody has to know that I'm winning. Yeah, but then what happens, right? And each level, like they stack upon the next, because red thinking brought chaos to the world. Think of like, you know, Alexander the Great going around conquering nations. So from that chaos evolved blue thinking, which was there's a right and a wrong way, there's law and there's order. But then that dogmatic, religious-based kind of right, wrong thinking evolved into like the capitalist structure, which is your orange thinking. And now what we're starting to talk about is like that 6, 7 level of thinking, which is, whilst in orange thinking, it's very much, in my opinion, because I've studied it quite a bit, this model, actually built a full personality system from it. In that orange thinking, you look for a win-win, but you'll still make a solid win-lose if it came down to the crunch. Whereas then as you start to evolve through 6 thinking, which is getting in touch with energy and everything like that, and then into 7, it's like you're looking at that, how can I create a win-win, not just for me, myself, the person I'm chatting with, the community, holistically, the earth, and then going up, which is, anyway, that's a high-level kind of view, guys, but I love it. It's really, really cool.
That's epic. Yeah, I love that model. I love the specificity and the clarity that it provides for people. And it's not like what I've realized and what I love, and I love how you share it as well, is it's a tool of being able to have awareness around where we are in our evolution, right? Because everyone's at a different stage of their journey.
It is.
When I was up until 17, 18, I was at that like level 4 blue thinking, and then coming into 18 to kind of 27, I was kind of in that blue. Sorry, I was in the orange thinking, and then. And I evolved into, I think, as a green. That's level 6.
Green, level 6. Yeah.
That's when I divorced money. I'm like, no, I don't want money. I'm just gonna meditate. I'm gonna do yoga.
And that's where, sorry to interrupt. That's that solid 6 thinking is where they go, get rid of your ego. The ego is a bad thing, right? But then you evolve past that when you realize, well, hang on, the ego is actually healthy, and it's about having balance.
Exactly. And totally 100% agree with you on that. That's like something that I truly believe in. And I think level 6, I find, is a space where we're in the conversation with humanity, and we start to get an awareness. And it's like, it's the pendulum swing, right? It's like, I feel like for my life, I feel like I hit 26, 27, and I would have told you I have no spiritual bones in my body. I had a rejection to spirituality. I had rejection to all the energetics. I had rejection to all of it. And then only because of my deep suffering and PTSD that I actually had to find a solution, because everything else around me was telling me the wrong thing, and I was getting led astray. And was getting all the wrong advice from the wrong people, and just noticing I was feeling worse and more disconnected from what was actually true for me. And it was actually, and the way that I perceive spirituality is very different not different, but it's my own, I suppose. But what happens is, and we go level 5 to level 6, it's like the pendulum swings.
I agree. Yeah.
All the way. Because at level 5, we learn how to make money. We learn how to, build a business. We learn how to potentially run a team. We learn how to, think outside the box. We learn how to, think bigger than just a linear way of making money. We start to go like this, right? The way we think. And then we have level 6, and then we reject it. But then level 7 is like, holy fuck, that's the full expression of like the philanthropist. This is when like we're in that space where we have the vision. We know how to make money. We are deeply connected to spirit. And now we have the toolkit to actually serve people at a greater level. This is where you see people doing like large things like Tony Robbins, right? Large people $100 million away.
I think this is really, really important conversation and hyper relative to the topic, which is New Age business. And I'm glad we kind of ended up here. Like I said, we didn't plan this out. We just got here. But like, for those that don't know, like the original model that Claire Graves had was called the emergent cyclical. So we go from states of, so emerging, I love how he stated it, right? He goes like, as human beings, we all have the potential to evolve, but that doesn't mean that we will evolve. Right? Because the way that Claire Graves explains it is that it's like you've got internal coping systems and you've got external life conditions bouncing against you, right? And what happens is, and this is that whole thing, right? If you don't put yourself through tough experiences, you don't grow. As we go through new things in life, it hits our cup and it evolves us. And that's cyclical. And this is really interesting. And I really love, I'm glad we're having this conversation. I love this stuff. So like the cyclical part, right? Emergent cyclical double helix model of adult biopsychosocial systems. That was his model. And it went cyclical. So we go from places of I, me, mine. I want to achieve this thing. I want to get this. It's mine. So my business, my money, what I want. And then we cycle back to states of we, us, ours. We, the group, us, the community, we, the clan. And in regards to people's evolution through business, and I'm pretty sure you'll expand on this too, but we can't get stuck just because we may interact with someone in a business situation. And, for example, maybe we're leaning more towards the we, us, our side. And then we meet someone that's hyper I, me, mine. We have to be aware, not to shut them down because they're different to us, but just appreciate and respect that's where they're at on the cycle, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the metrics that we all have to understand each other better these days and support each other to grow. Literally, it's changed my life. Like I look at things like, epigenetics and human design and gene keys and all the other elements that are coming into the space and what you've created. And I'm like,
yeah.
This is so effective because I know that where humanity is headed is like, I remember Gary Vee saying this 4 years ago. I really like Gary Vee. I don't agree with everything that he says, but Gary Vee for his complete and utter self-ownership, like without any story around whether someone else agrees with him. He doesn't care. He's not just, that's why I really respect what he's done. But what's interesting is like, if you're not in the work, if you're not actually growing and progressively diving into self-development, actually leaning into what's actually unfolding in the world, you'll get left behind.
Yes.
It's not a matter of like, I don't need to grow anymore. I don't need to learn anymore. It's like, if you're not continually evolving, you will get left behind, period.
Yep.
And what's happening right now is we're seeing the collapse of businesses that didn't move with the times, didn't move into a space of win-win, when they didn't evolve with humanity.
Yep.
Happening is these constructs and these big organizations that have been around for some of them 100 years are just collapsing.
Yes.
It's like, goodbye. Yeah. And I bring it back to Mother Earth. I think that, sometimes in spiritual communities, people like to say things like, we're raising the vibration of the planet. And I'm like, yes. And what I know to be true is that the frequency of Mother Earth is far more potent than we even realize.
Yep. And
less about us actually raising her vibration, because her vibration is infinite.
Mm-hmm.
6 sextillion megaton battery, which is a 6 with 21 zeros behind it, right?
Yep.
It's more about us attuning to her frequency. If we want to evolve, it's about us actually attuning to her frequency. And within that, it's like listening to what she needs from us, right? And with the introduction of sustainable businesses and people creating businesses that are win-win, in the last 10 years, we've seen a massive influx of conscious businesses come into the space. We're starting to see that happen because people are starting to listen. This is a really key part of creating something for the new age. Just like, are you actually listening, right? Listening to two parts, your intuition and Mother Earth.
Yes.
is we've for so long have only cared about ourselves, only cared about the bottom line. We've had, stock investors only care about the bottom line, and are we going to make enough revenue this month, or are we continually growing, or are my stocks going up? It's coming back to like, is this affecting the planet?
Yes.
Are my children 50 years, my children's children 50 years from now going to be living in a healthy planet? Are people going to be like beyond the actual planet itself? Are the people themselves going to be in a space where they can actually, be cohesive and connect and build communities that are lasting? Like, are we creating something now that is for the future, not just for the next fucking year's worth of income? That's really the big question that people get to ask, because I think with COVID-19, what's happened, and I perceive this as a gift. Like, I'm like, this is an extraordinary gift. COVID,
it is.
I'm like, beyond the the pandemic and what the media is trying to tell us and all that kind of stuff. Like, and I don't really. I mean, I hear a bit of the conspiracy or truth.
There's stuff out there. Yeah.
Whatever it is, I am so unidentified with any of it. All I'm more interested in is, how do I support people in this time? That's all I'm interested in. Yeah. Yes. How do I support to bring in the new? If we keep focusing on the old and what's wrong with the world, we're never going to create it, right?
Yep.
And a good example is, like, there's people that are out there that aren't focusing on the problem, they're focusing on the solution, right?
Yes.
There's people out there that are like, you know what? Cool. So what? They've done that. Cool. What are we going to do about it? That's all I'm interested in. Like, what are we going to, who are we going to be in the face of that? That's what I'm interested in.
I love this. This is super important. I'm glad we ended up here because, like, I feel like, in respect to business, integrity in business is an important thing, right? It's exceptionally important to me. And like anyone that's done coaching with me, trainings with me, just work with me knows that, like, I put them first. And like, there are some businesses that are in the lowest MSM. Everything makes much more sense when you look at things through the spiral, right? So it's like, it's important. And it's about COVID-19, right? In my opinion, I said this a couple of podcasts ago with one of the guests. I said, I feel like COVID-19 has exposed the cracks in people's armor, right? Because there were lots of people that were out there that had built all these complexities upon a soft foundation, right? Like, what was inside was not right. And like, under stress, and once again, Claire Graves talks about this too. He goes, look, when we are in stressful situations, we resort back to primal, where we go back to previously completed levels, right? And so, like, I think, as you're saying right there, shifting that focus, there are some marketers out there right now, and their whole thing is, how can I focus on this thing and generate more fear so I can make more sales? It's like, you don't need to. I don't know about you, but like, my business has not been affected by this at all. No. My message has changed slightly, but like, I'm not coming out here saying, oh, I'm going to change everything. It's like, well, fucking no, it's exactly the same as before. I'm focusing on solutions. I'm focusing on giving value. And as a result, my bottom line is continued to go up. And yeah, I think, as you said, you have to focus on the solutions, because what we think about, we generate, manifestation 101.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we're expanding our team. We're like, on our team. I'm sitting there going, this is extraordinary. I feel very grateful and humbled that we've been able to create what we've created so far, and a beautiful just comfortability where we don't have to work, but we're creating, listening to what does our community need right now? What's going to the highest level? And I think, this is something that's really important for us as leaders, as facilitators, as creators in the future. Is like, it's the biggest piece is like listening to what is needed from you particularly. Right?
This sounds like intuition in business, which is something that we talked about earlier.
Totally, yeah. And this is it, because I think what I'm noticing, again, coming back to marketing and using fear-based marketing, and even them, they're only leading through the lens of which they know how to. This is the thing, because a lot of the business world, unfortunately, and this was me at certain points in my life, and I'm sure as I share this, you will relate as well, because is we're creating from our trauma.
Yep.
But leading through the lens of what we have, or that wasn't fulfilled within ourselves, our wounding from the past, our not feeling good enough, whether it was this life or a past life, whatever the story is, it's irrelevant. But it's feeling deep down that we're not enough, right? And we came from that space that one day, if I get to 7 figures, maybe I'll be accepted. If I give away $10 million charity, maybe they'll love me, right? It's like it's building things from that space of leading through trauma. And what that eventually does, it has the ability to create more leaders. However, that's going to happen is the influence is going to create the same of the old and none of the new.
Yes.
The new age of business is creating from pure expression, from alignment. It means you're sitting in the space of listening deeply to what is actually for you, not what you should be doing.
Yep.
What's happening in this time is like a lot of people are saying, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you should. And I'm sitting here going, the fuck is everyone talking about?
Yeah. I think that's really important, right? And you kind of, Tony Robbins gives the whole Robin Williams metaphor, talking about, you can be ultra successful and be burning inside. But it's so true, because if the reason you're building is not for let's just call it a wholesome reason inside, right? If it's to like try and fill a hole, then what happens is when you get to that goal, you're empty. And I'll give you one of my personal examples, right? So back when I think would have been 24, 25, like we had a company that was going really well. Yeah. So on average, we're averaging about anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000 a week in revenues. And like, we're doing it really, really well. But once again, hindsight's a bitch. Yeah. I can only look back and see it. But looking back, like I noticed that like, it wasn't actually fucking making me happy. Like I was buying all the nice things and 100%, right? Strong Vose level 3, Vose level 5 thinking. But like, it was like, if I just get all this stuff, I'm going to feel better. Yeah. And it's like, I love this opportunity that we've been, I'm going to speak from the heart right now, but I love this opportunity that we've been hit with right now, which is that like, it's like when you get knocked off the horse, and it's like a lot of people have been knocked off the horse. And like we've been given this grace period to do some self-reflection, some self-growth, some self-healing before we get back on the horse. That way, when we get back on the horse, we can ride that bad boy to a different destination.
100%. I think, yeah, when as you're saying that, I'm just thinking about my partner right now. So we've kind of built our business together, right? And she said, as it started unfolding, it was about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. She's like, you know what's for me right now? It's actually taking 60 days off the business completely. And I'm like, awesome.
Nice.
I'm like, do it. The team's got your back. Like the team can do everything. We can do everything. You can relax.
Yep.
She's using this opportunity right now for her to go really deep into herself and find out what the next expression of her is. Because, she's, one thing, and there's something really interesting here on money. It's like the question that people, something that's hot on and everyone's attention on at the moment is making more money and making money online, all the elements, right? And that's part of what we do. We teach people how to facilitate and create money online and business online. But what's interesting is what Abigail realizes is her greatest creations within our business, and prior to that and after that, whatever else it would be, have come from the deepest places of stillness. Like letting go of all the things that I thought I was, so I can actually become more of myself. And this is not something you do one time. This is like what she's constantly doing. I mean, She is Scorpio, so she's constantly in death and her part of her life's journey is her thing is death and rebirth, right? That's the energy of Scorpio. And she knows, and like when she has moments, like she'll have 2 or 3 days of stillness, and she'll have an idea, and it will generate large amounts of impact and large amounts of money like overnight. It was like boom.
Yep.
Because she's built the awareness to go, this doesn't need me to take shitloads of action. This needs me to actually sit first and do the right thing that's meant for me in the right time. Because
I love it.
When people do this is the thing. When people do things that go viral, it comes from that space. It doesn't come from grinding. It actually comes from the, that's the piece there. Boom. Now take action on that. And then they're like, holy fuck, I went viral overnight. My video got, 20,000, 100,000 or 200,000, whatever views, whatever.
Yes.
Or my coaching program got 60 people and I made 150 grand out of it. Holy fuck. Like, what the fuck? And I only marketed it for 30 days. And it's like, it's because you're doing what's actually for you.
I love this. It's that famous saying, sometimes you need to go slow to go fast.
100%. We had a training recently called the COVID Code, and we spoke about this. And I think what has unfolded for some people during this time is they've become more reactive, right? It's pushed people back into levels of consciousness. They've gone back to the reactive space, right?
Yep.
Up to level 3, level 4 way of thinking. It's like, oh, but it has to be this, and I need to make money now. And it's like all this needs and shoulds and musts and haves and all that kind of stuff, right? And something that I can see that's unearthing right now is the new way that's coming through, the identities and experiences we had around particular things, our characteristics in business, particularly, and also in our personal life, are things like integrity, right?
Yep.
Integrity is an interesting word, and I believe that it's continuously evolving. And I think that what it was before was steeped in, you should do that. You said you would, so X, Y, Z, and I expect this from you because X, Y, Z, and you should do this, and you must do that, otherwise, right?
And that book that was written 2,500 years ago said that you should do this, right?
Yeah. because it should. And I'm like, well, what integrity is actually turning into and evolving into is actually sovereignty, self-honoring, listening to what's actually for you in the moment, and giving you the opportunity and the ability to be like, you know what, I know I said yes to that thing, but actually isn't in alignment with who I am, who I'm. It doesn't feel good for me in this moment, right?
Yep.
Like deep presence, like integrity is turning into deep presence, self-honoring, self-integrity.
Yep.
And sovereignty, which is mean total ownership of a self, right? Just like,
Yep.
this is who I am, and having no story around having to justify who you are for any reason. It's just like an embodiment of who I am.
I think something right there, just sorry to interrupt your flow there, but two things I want to, one, a question that kind of sprung to my mind, and also a statement as well. You know, the question, I'll ask a question first and I'll make the statement. So the question I have, and I've got my own thoughts on this, I'm just curious to hear yours. What we're talking about, right, is being willing to take that journey inside and meet whatever's there. So the question I have is, what do you feel, based on your experience, yourself, people that you've worked with, what you've seen, what you feel, why do you feel that people don't take that journey inside? And the second element to that, which was the statement, I feel like personal growth isn't the process of becoming necessarily a new person. It's about peeling back all the conditioning and layers and masks that we've collected over the years to find our true self. So yeah, that's what the question was. So what do you think prevents people from taking that journey inside?
Yeah, totally. So the journey, it's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, 98% of people don't feel safe to be in their body. They don't. They literally, we bypass actually fully experiencing life, and this is why we don't fulfill it. We don't want to actually tune in and feel emotion. And I used to think that from a young age, I used to think I was emotionally intelligent. Even up until 27 years, I was like, I'm really emotionally intelligent. Things don't faze me that much.
Yep.
What I realized is like, that's not actually emotionally intelligent. That's called being numb. When life isn't, if you're not feeling anything from your environment, you're actually numb. You're disconnected from your body. You're actually not in your actual body. You're off floating in space because it's not safe to be in your body. And for whatever reason during your life, you've had experiences that have not made you feel safe in your body, whether it was sexual abuse, whether it was a partner that used to hit you, whether it was a parent that, whatever the thing is, right? It can be so many reasons. It could even be getting bullied at school. It could have been this teacher used to yell at you. It could have been anything. For whatever decision, whatever reason, you decided that it wasn't safe to be in your body, so you're not in your body, so you don't feel. This identity around fulfillment that people want to experience. Feeling is experiencing is living is actually what we're here to do, right? So it's like the realization that if we don't fully allow ourselves to feel all of our emotions, like every single emotion, from disgust, anger, sadness, from regret to guilt, if we don't allow ourselves to feel it, we aren't able to actually fully feel bliss and pleasure. And what I've realized about the work that we do is that, you know, for me, I healed myself from PTSD, anxiety, from allowing myself to sit and deeply feel the sadness.
Yes.
The breath. Like I was breathing and I was like, fuck, okay, now that I'm in the present moment and there's fear here and I can feel the fear, now I'm going to surrender into this fear and build a relationship with this fear and actually become one with the fear, because it's part of me. So many people are trying to cure their humanity as opposed to embracing their humanity. And they think that to truly experience fulfillment, which I think a lot of us are here for, and I know Tony Robbins speaks about this a lot as well, it's actually about how much can I allow myself to actually experience each moment, moment, and bring reverence to each moment, whether it is one where, you know, you're arguing with your partner and you disagree on something because you're not supposed to agree on everything. That would be, if you agree on everything, that would be fucking boring. Like,
boring.
Like, I love that. Like, me and my partner, we don't argue that much. But I love that we've built a communication structure that doesn't require us to agree.
Well, it's that dynamic, right? I think it's Dr. John Gottman, yeah. So he said that, you know, there's a 5-to-1 ratio. So if your relationship, if you don't have 5 positives to every 1 negative, you're not going to work. And I think then as he took that out, if you have an 11-to-1 ratio, so 11 positives to 1 negative, your relationship won't work because it's boring. So you have to have that fire and ice happening at the same time.
100%. That's what keeps the spice there, keeps the energy there, keeps the ooh. It supports us and helps us in a conscious relationship or whatever it may be, or just a relationship in general, to have a reflection of the elements of ourselves we haven't worked through yet. And that's the whole purpose of a relationship, is to bring out the best in ourselves. And
Yes.
having the best version of ourselves isn't just this light, fluffy experience. Sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it challenges every part of who you think you are and calls you further into who you truly are, right? So, and this is it. Like, this is what the work is. It's like letting go of who you think you are and becoming who you actually are. Right? Because we've settled in our lives for being a certain person or a certain type of person because it fits in and people like it, and people like us because we have money, and people like us because we have this, or people like us because we have this partner or this job. And, you know, I fell into this myself, right? I had the car, I had the expensive Audi, I had the house on the water, everyone fucking loved me. And I was a really positive person. I was a really fucking nice guy, but I was miserable inside. I have become, I suppose, really passionate about this. And because a good example is like, we run our retreats quite often, and we have a lot of people that will apply for, say, the embodiment retreat. And we end up saying a lot more no's than we say yeses. And the reason why is because there's two reasons. For me personally, if I'm going to spend 8 days with somebody, because I love my own energy so much, if I'm going to spend 8 days with somebody, I need to make sure that I'm a stand for who they are. Energetically, I feel connected to them. And I want to see what they're here to do, be out in the world and change the world, right? I have to be a person, right? Because I could create things and probably make quadruple the money and be fucking awesome, right?
But you'd be out of integrity with yourself.
Exactly. And I've done that in the past, and I would rather, and truth be told, because I'm more in alignment, eventually over the course of time, I'll make more money, more income, more impact.
Absolutely.
But I realized for me, integrity is such an important thing that I'm like, I would rather have 20 people at this retreat rather than 60 or 70, even though they could fit at the resort, because I know that the experience is going to tangibly transform their life. And my fulfillment coming out of it is going to be through the roof.
Love it. I really love this. This is such an important conversation right now. And the reason why I say that is I've been, as I said, doing training and coaching now for 10 years. I've been training coaches to become coaches in NLP, hypnotherapy, and those kind of modalities for, 7 years ago I started doing that. And even way back then, when I didn't have very much business knowledge, I still always would say to people, the wrong client is always the wrong client. And now, looking back, like I'm above 30 years of age now, I'm getting old. I am very firm. When I train anyone new, I go, the right client is always the right client, and the wrong client is always the wrong client. You're going to feel this urge, and it's either going to come from a place of you want to help as many people as possible, option one, or you need money, so you want money, option two. And I always say to them, I go, you have to, it's a balance, right? And this is what's interesting, right? Because what we're talking about right now is this is the new age of business, right? It's that conscious entrepreneur, it's that conscious level of thought where you can't jump from non-consciousness straight into unconscious, to consciousness, in my opinion. It's the journey. And I hope people have noticed this through you sharing your talk. Like, you didn't just wake up when you were 18 and boom, you're yourself now. It's like, and I hear this often. I'm sure you hear it more than me because of the space that you work in. But like, I'm sure you get people that say, well, how do I wake up? How do I become more conscious? Or something like that. And this is my thoughts, and then you can share yours. My thoughts is that you can't just go, I want to be conscious, right? You have to actually go through the journey. And sometimes that journey is you have to try on different masks. Because if you don't try on different masks, how do you know what's not you?
Exactly. I think even being conscious is a mask. Because what I noticed in myself when I became more quote unquote conscious, and I
more woke.
For some reason, I've shared that word 3 times in this so far on this podcast. So I'm like, I don't usually use the word conscious very often. Anyway, so what I realized, and I had a really potent experience when I was facilitating myself, one of my mentors, and he's like, I can see you. This is a couple of years ago now. He's like, I can see you. You're beautifully conscious, but what I can see is you're also wearing a mask. Upgraded your Playboy business mask to this like conscious mask, and you talk a certain way now. And it goes, that still isn't truly who you are. There's still more to you than that. There's a deeper level within you than that piece that you're sharing. Yep. And what happens for us, and what happens as we're ascending or waking up or whatever metric we use to speak about it, is whatever ego we thought we had before, we replace it with a spiritual ego and a new set of language, a new set of skill sets, a new way of perceiving life. It doesn't mean that we've evolved. It just means we've changed the way that we do it. We've upgraded our prison. I don't necessarily think that waking up is what people think it is. I think that I feel like I'm waking up every 2 weeks. It feels like I feel like parts of me are still awake, and I feel like I'm constantly waking up. And it's like, it's not waking up is just having more awareness.
Yep.
You know, and there is the moment where there's obviously a moment where people go through a process, and usually it's through pain, or usually it's through a breakup, usually it's through like depression or anxiety, where they start and they because of the level of suffering they're in, it's enough to move them into action to change something. And because they move so fast, so quickly, they say, I've woken up, right?
Yep.
Then when you realize you've been on that journey for more than 3 and 6 and 7 years, you're like, actually, what I was 4 years ago, I wasn't actually awake. I was still waking up. I was still on that journey, and I still think I'm still waking up today. So I think it's actually pretty funny. I think it's a bit of a joke, to be honest. And I think that saying that we're awake perceives that we're done. Like that's to me what the human mind creates as a construct to say that we're done, to give you like, oh, I'm here now. So, you know, I've got it all figured out.
My cup's full.
Yeah. So, but we're never going to be there. You're never going to get there. There is never going to get there. It doesn't matter whether you scale to 7 figures, 8 figures, 10 figures. It doesn't matter whether you impacted 10,000, 20,000, a million, 2 million. You're never going to feel content, and impact and money are the exact same thing. It's just the conscious person's way of saying that, oh, I want to make an impact.
Yep.
Because we're obviously is chasing money, right? Because we're making it wrong. That's what's like, oh, I want to impact 1,000. I want to impact this many people. I'm like, it's only because you're afraid. Often it's like, I'm afraid to actually say that I want to make a really sustainable business. Often.
Yes, 100%. Once again, it's good that we talked about Claire Graves earlier, because he does say this, right? He goes like, there's always a new level. Like, it doesn't end. Each time you think you're at the end of it, boom, you're going to go somewhere else. And like, you know, when I coach people like that are in a pit, like I always say, like the severity, the duration, and the intensity of the pit that you hit is completely relative to how long it takes you to get the growth, the learnings, and the new ways of thinking to go to that next level and evolve. Evolution is what I think it is.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you on that as well. And it's it. Like, I think for a lot of us, myself especially, very stubborn. I needed to have not just one Mac truck. I needed like 7 Mac trucks. I needed a Mac truck every day for like 12 months. People like, okay, I'll listen. Fuck. And this is why I suppose I'm so passionate about now around intuition and business, right? Because it's something that's interesting about. A lot of us say that we've got a good intuition, and how I would like to frame it so that it's a practical movement, progressive thing for people. You know, because when someone goes to me, they've got a good intuition. What I'm now observing, I'm like, is their life a reflection of this or not?
Yeah, or they're just saying it.
Is it just words? Because like, I've heard everyone say they've got a good intuition. I think pretty sure everyone has a good intuition. What I'm interested in is like, do you have a good with your intuition? That's what I'm interested in. Like, is your relationship with your intuition strong? Yeah. Like, do you actually fucking listen to, excuse my French, or do you actually listen to your intuition? Because when someone does, you can tell. You can feel it. You experience them as that. Like you're like, wow, this person seems to be on fire. They're in alignment. I don't just mean like financially with their business, but they're on fire in their life. It seems like, oh, everything just works for them. They have the Midas touch. I'm like, no, they're just connected to their intuition. They're listening to what's for them, and they're actually letting something greater than them guide themselves each day.
Yep.
And it's not, it doesn't need to be God. It can be whatever you conform to, because I don't have I'm attached to nothing. I'm just like, I believe in the energy of the universe, and I believe in, maybe we'll call it source energy or whatever it may be. I did grow up Christian, and I still, to a degree, believe in God as an entity. But what I realize is that beyond all of that, frequency is just love.
Yep.
Beyond all of it, I understand that whatever label we put on it, it's just the frequency of love. And it's an expression that runs through our vessel. It doesn't need to be anything too spectacular or worded a certain way. It's just the frequency of love, and we get to tap into it or not tap into it. We get to choose. That's
right. And what they say, right? Everything else, every other emotion is just a derivative of love, right? And it goes down lower in the frequency.
Anger, sadness, guilt, all of them, they're all part of love. It's just like, because the true essence of unconditional love is like, someone can be angry with you and you can still love them.
Yes.
Someone could be guilty of something, and you can still show up in compassion even when you know they're guilty. That's the true essence of unconditional love. It's like, it's all encompassing. I'm holding the container for all of you, right?
Yep. And some people give conditional love though, and that's a problem in itself.
They call it unconditional though, but
Yeah, they call that conditional, but there's conditions, and we have to be careful, in my opinion, right? Because I'm sure you'll vibe with this too. Like I've got a big old fucking heart. I'm covered in tattoos and I appear scary sometimes, but like I've got a massive heart and I really do care for people. And it's just like, I see some people sometimes in some of their relationships, for example, where they put X, Y. If X is happening, then Y will occur with their love. It's like, if you meet this standard, then you'll get love. It's like, well, that's not real love, is it?
yeah, I agree. Yeah. And it's a conundrum that I feel like love is teaching me every day.
But it's hard. And I think it's, I don't know if obnoxious is the right word, or even arrogance the right word, to say that, once again, it's those that are forethinking to be super judgmental and go, oh, you're not giving love, Cinder. You're not being loving, because that judgmental side there is also its own little dark place. But one thing you said, and you started talking about it, God, I think it was about 10 minutes ago. When you said that you healed yourself of your PTSD, you started to talk about how you're doing breath work. So talk to me about that.
Dude, yeah, this is like my jam. I've gone every direction. I've gone into somatic sexuality. I've gone into,
nice.
I've gone into far out, you name it, BBTRS. Like, I've gone into a lot of different places for breath work.
Yep.
And we've created our own ways and modalities now within breath work. And the reason why I love it is it's a self-leadership experience. You and your breath. And when you breathe oxygen or prana or life force into your body, you're breathing, think about it, we're breathing life force, energy into our body. And when you breathe it in, it becomes us, right? Yep. And I would accredit my ability to do so many things to my breathwork practice, like my ability to have clarity on who I am, and my ability to have optimal health, my ability to connect with people so deeply, my ability to be able to shift my state really quickly. Because in a matter of 2 to 5 minutes before I jumped on this call, I was breathing and connecting with myself and listening to what's actually for me and what's needed from me in this moment to share. Yep. And for a direct through line to the present moment. In the present moment, we actually slow down our mind for a second, and we slow down to the present moment and move from beta to alpha, is where we actually can begin to connect with our intuition. That's the big phase, right? And through deep breathwork and also hypnotherapy, which I also do. And hypnotherapy is an absolute game changer for people. Like,
love it.
One of the most tangible transformational tools that exist. Like, I'm obsessed with it as well. So just celebrating that you've taught people to do it as well, because it's next level. And what it does is it moves people into a deeper place when you're breathing for long enough, it moves you into theta. And theta is where your deep-seated intuition lies, like where your true essence. Like, if you're wanting to make a business decision, or whether you should or shouldn't do something, or invest that money, or buy that property, or whatever it is, you want to rely on theta, because your deep-seated intuition. That's where none of the projections of the world are in your space, and you're literally sitting inward in your own little cocoon of your experience. Practitioners of hypnotherapy now as well is theta is where your deep healing happens. Because it's the space where you can finally let go and allow yourself to fully release what's holding you back. And that's why that's one of my second or third favorite things is hypnotherapy, because it's just like I actually fuse them together.
Yes, nice.
Because with breath, I can get them into theta in like 3 to 4 minutes.
So quick. And
then layering over hypnotic activation and layering it with taking them into a deeper state, we can rewire people's brains like within 10 minutes. It's really, really quite profound. And we do things we call them breathwork activations, because you're breathing, but then we're putting very intentional linguistics, because we've studied hypnotherapy, very intentional linguistics with it to amplify the experience, right? Because breathwork and hypnotherapy are very powerful. Fused together, it's a game changer.
100%. And this links in with intuition in business. I can see now the connecting dots. So it's like, your intuition in business, your breath work, going down into that state, and then having that very directionalized, focused intent hypnosis. So like you're putting yourself in a place where you do get those transformations. I love it.
Yeah. So, and that's it. So like if I wanted to, like right now, if I wanted to connect with my intuition, like if I wanted to really, not just like my intuition, like deeply, like what is actually needed from me in this time, or from me, or what do I personally need for me before I think about everybody else. How that looks for me is I do about 5 minutes to 10 minutes of conscious breathing, and we use different types. We use into the mouth, out of the mouth, into the nose, out of the mouth, only nose, only mouth. We do I also studied yoga breathwork as well. So I've done all the pranayama series, and
Yep.
that's where I started. I started with yogic breathwork.
So for those that don't know, what's the difference between like the different ways of doing breath?
Awesome. So I'll break down a few different ways. So pranayama is great. Pranayama was originally designed to support us to get deeper into meditation, which is what breathwork guys also do in general. As it's evolved and that was the main mechanism. They were trying to find ways to actually to deeply connect with their own supply, their own pharmacy within, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their ability to actually drop deeply into their parasympathetic nervous system, so they can actually awaken their inner pharmacy.
Yep.
Within this space is what they would actually notice is they would start to release things like DMT into the brain, so they can actually start to have hallucinations and visualizations. Depending on where the story comes from, in Soma, they speak about this as the Soma was the breath. Originally, it was plant medicine. It was psilocybin mushrooms and other forms of plant medicine. But when they ran out of the Soma, the quote unquote Soma, they then had to develop a way to do it themselves organically within their own bodies. That's when they introduced breathwork at the very beginning. Like this was thousands of years ago.
Yep.
They started breathwork and they realized they could reach a very similar state using breathwork as they could taking plant medicine.
Yep.
Personally, I go to breathwork and plant medicine for two different reasons. I've explored both. Personally, they do create similar experiences. However, I go to them for different reasons. And then with breathwork, what I love is that you could take somebody that, because plant medicine isn't always on the cards for most people. Like some people are like, yeah, I'm all the way in. Others are like, I'm not interested in that at all, right? It's either a hard no, it's a hard yes, right?
Yep.
So depending on the person, breathwork's a really great entry point. And then what unfolds for us, how it's evolved for us, we then learn breathwork for detoxification, for emotional healing. And really when you want to create an experience of emotional healing, you want to activate the sympathetic nervous system. So how we do that is breathing in and out of the mouth. This actually breathes and supports them to actually activate the sympathetic nervous system so they can actually finish and complete cycles of trauma. Yep. All of us, no matter how woke we are or how alive we are, or whether we had good parents or we were sexually abused or whatever, every single person on this world has trauma.
We've got stuff, yeah.
Your mum didn't love you and didn't show you affection, or you were sexually abused when you were a kid. Honestly, the body doesn't really know the difference. The story that we continue to tell ourselves and the justification we get from the outside world makes this coil tighten and tighten and tighten. And when we tell our story too often and people are like, oh my God, you've been through so much, all that kind of stuff, it tightens and tightens, it gets worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
And we start to build this victim identity that makes us not think we could ever become anything. But the reality of it is whether someone slaps someone or whether someone gets sexually abused, the body's wisdom is very similar, right? It's not that much different in terms of the actual healing process. And what breathwork can allow us to do is drop back into a sympathetic state, so we can actually, in a controlled environment with experienced facilitators that know how to hold the container so you can actually feel safe, because one of the most important things about facilitating breathwork as a practitioner is that you make the participant feel safe. In that container, the safer they feel, the deeper they drop into it, they can actually release all kinds of stuff. Often I don't like to limit what people can release, because people might be like, oh, I let go of that thing with my ex-partner. I'm like, what they've actually let go of is centuries of trauma from their whole family. I'm like,
yeah,
relationship amazing. And I'm like, really? Because sometimes we hold some of the breathwork we facilitate, people breathe for up to 3.5 hours.
Yep.
3.5 hours straight, which feels like a plant medicine journey. The experience that they're like, oh, fuck, I let go of this and this and this and this. I'm like, awesome. Don't get too caught in the mind, because what will happen is you'll
put a box around it and we won't get the full expansion of what you let go. Yeah,
exactly. Because what I love about it is it has no limitation.
Yes,
it's exponential growth. It's exponential transformation here.
I love it. So that's out through the mouth. In through the mouth, out through the mouth. So what other variants are there?
Yeah, so then, depending on, because sometimes amongst breathwork practitioners, like, oh, this way is better, this way is better. Like shamanic breathwork is in through the nose, out through the mouth. It's a very similar pattern. It's very quick.
Yep.
In through the mouth, but it can induce a very similar state, right? It can induce a very similar state. Now, I haven't specifically studied shamanic breathwork, but a few friends have. But one of the benefits in through the nose and out through the mouth is the nose does act as a filter. The reason why for certain things and as like daily practices in through the nose, out through the mouth can be very effective is because the nose, what happens when you inhale through the nose, it creates a spiral and it clears it before it hits your lungs.
Yep.
Right? So if you're doing open mouth breathing, you really want to be in a clean environment. You want to be in nature. You want to be out in your backyard with this fresh grass and that kind of stuff. So you're breathing in all these beautiful, rich oxygen and nutrients from the earth. Excuse me. So there are multiple different types of ways of doing this. You can do breath work on a 4 to 4 count. 4 and 4 count induces heart coherence, which just means your head and your heart are in alignment. And it brings you into a state where your energetic field expands. And when your energetic field expands, you can manifest quicker. Right. So, I mean, I could do a whole podcast just on breathwork alone, but there's so many different ways we can do it. And the reason why I wanted many teachers is because I realized, first of all, breathwork was the main medicine that healed me from PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, because of my story and what was connected to it, I didn't want to just settle for one person's opinion.
Yep.
Yeah. And what that's drove me to do is to create and do things and go really deep and learn from many people. And sometimes they don't match up and agree. And I'm like, that's perfect because I'm here to create my own version. Right. And it doesn't agree with everybody else's. And I'm like, that's also perfect, but I'm here to do what I'm here to do. Again,
well, there's no one right. Like everyone's different.
Exactly. And it's just, and something that we spoke about before. And I agree with this. And I think that, and no doubt you went through this, I went through this, and maybe most coaches or people that want to be of service to humanity in any capacity go through this, is like, we want to help everyone. Everyone needs to do my program. We want to help every single person on the planet. I want to work with everyone. And now marketing, we're talking to everyone, right? We're talking to every single person that ever lived, and we're trying to get everyone into that world. We figured it all out. And then as we actually start to embody our work and we start to actually realize who we love working with and who we get the best results with and who we actually enjoy and expand with, we start to get more discerning. And we're like, you know what? I want to work with X, Y, Z. And I want to do this, this, and this. And that's going to light me up. And then those people will then go, like, you may work with, as an example, I may work with 1,000 people. But in those 1,000 people work with 1,000 people. That's 1 million people.
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't always about the quantity. Like it's letting go of having to be everyone's everything, and working with a specific amount of people and doing what you're here to do to serve those people in the right way. Because what I notice in us as leaders, as coaches, and as we start, is we do want to help everyone. It's coming from the right place. It's coming from that, like, I want to help humanity. I want everyone to feel this good, and it's coming from the right place. However, for it to be sustainable, it needs to be more grounded and specific. And be in a place where, can I do this for the next 10? I'm sure you've in 10 years have gone like, what do I want to do now? Like, what's the thing that's going to light me up now? I'm guessing, as I have, you've pivoted probably 6 times in internally, not because of COVID, but just because of how you were feeling personally.
Correct.
What the world's doing, right? If you're passionate about something, it's gonna succeed. If it's meant for you, it's gonna succeed. It's not, and success isn't just the financial part, it's actually the fulfillment piece as well. So
yep. Nice. All right, let's start to wrap this up. This has been a very, very high value packed podcast, and I expected it to be just that, and I'm not disappointed. So if people want to be able to reach out to you, follow you, contact you, get into your space, how can they do that? What's the best way to find you, contact you, follow you?
Yeah, the best thing is my Instagram handle.
Yep.
And I've just deleted my old business Instagram, so don't go to that one anymore. There's a new one called We Are Limitless Love. It's brand new. It's literally only been up for about a week.
Yep.
We Are Limitless Love. And that's really good to find out more about the business things that we do. And to follow me personally, it's at Jared Grantham. It's all lowercase. It's all one word on Instagram, and then Jared on Facebook. We've built a lot of our community mainly on Facebook. It's been an absolute game changer for us, and it's a platform that allows for so much intimacy, and that's one of our highest values: intimacy and deep connection. So, but yeah, Facebook is a jam, and so is Instagram as well. And then, that's about it.
Boom. Awesome, mate. Well, look, it's been a pleasure. Once again, everyone else who is watching and listening to this, you know the deal. If you love this, hit like, hit love, tag anybody that needs to hear this, that really, think would get some healing from listening to this conversation and get some growth from this conversation. And I will chat to you in the next episode.